Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for your Tuesday FreightWaves Now Community Spotlight. I'm your host, Kaylee Nix, here with Mary O'Connell, host and writer of Check Call, here to talk all things 3PL. And Mary, thank you for joining us on this Tuesday.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So in the world of shipping, of course, we know there are so many little niche places to be. And today you're talking about a really interesting one that I think doesn't get enough attention, diving into the world of bulk commodity shipping. Give us kind of a broad overview about what bulk shipping is and why it's maybe like the most underappreciated niche segment when it comes to trucking.
So, something that I will be the first to admit, I am not an expert when it comes to bulk shipping. However, I have found some experts and I have pulled them on bulk shipping 101. What do we need to know? All I know is that I used to work next to the bulk shipping guys and I would hear them talk about, chemicals and other stuff like that. And I was like, that sounds really confusing. I'm going to stay over here in the not confusing flatbed world of things. It's fine. So, basically bulk shipping is kind of those commodities, and it's so important to everything in the supply chain because we kind of learned as in the episode this week that everything comes from basically everything starts with bulk shipping. So that's going to be all of your raw materials, whether it's chemicals for a perfume, petroleum for cars to go on the road. The thing that we most commonly see with bulk shipping are those tractor trailers that bring gas to gas pumps. You go to pull up, there's always a traffic jam at the gas station, and there's this giant truck there, and you're like, what the heck? This is going to take forever. And usually it does, and I'm that person that will just go to a different gas station because I don't like the chaos of it. But that is going to be the most common thing that everyone kind of associates with bulk shipping is that gas station refill tank.
It's going to be definitely interesting to kind of dig into some of that in the episode here because, as you mentioned, bulk shipping is a lot of our upstream products. And looking at that specific subset of the industry can often give us a good indication of where things like consumer products or where regular flatbed or regular dry van shipping is going to go. If you have bulk commodities dropping off of a cliff in terms of rates or volumes, you can assume that downstream, those products that were manufactured using those bulk items are also eventually going to deteriorate. And that upstream notion of things, you really have to dig in with your producers and your front-end manufacturers if you're looking to get into the bulk shipping world, right? How does that differ, maybe from a broker perspective, if you're looking to acquire customers? How do you go about dealing with some of those upstream manufacturers versus maybe some of those downstream folks?
Well, it's kind of so one of the common things when you're looking for downstream shippers is okay, go to the store, go to like a sporting goods store or a grocery store, and just look around. Start seeing who's producing that. Okay, so if you have a tennis racket, who's producing the laces, the plastic for the racket, the handles, everything like that, and then work your way backwards because there's always someone that produces that. Well, when it comes to that bulk shipping role, work your way backwards even farther. So who sends the rubber for the handles? Who sends the plastic, maybe that the plastic that they then mold and shape into the racket, into the strings and different things like that. So if you're looking at food, okay, who sends the milk to the yogurt company? Because believe it or not, milk is actually this is one that surprised me the most. Milk is also commonly used in these bulk shipping containers because it's got to go from the dairy farmers to the people who produce yogurt or anyone else that makes dairy. So just when it comes to like looking at that stuff at the store, go back even further. So who's the creator of that milk that maybe your favorite yogurt company uses? Who if you're looking at working in the meat sector, okay, well, who feeds the cows that then does that, and like who grows the food for the cows? Because agriculture sometimes uses that bulk shipping. It's a little different kind of container. It's the container you might see that has like the roll over on the top, but it's still like a full tractor trailer. That's going to be some of your loose commodities. So it's a matter of kind of seeing those products and saying, okay, well, how far back do I go where I get that raw material? And that's where your bulk shipping is going to come in. And that's where, it does take a little bit of knowledge of the industry to understand, okay, I have to go back a little bit further and just see who creates these kinds of things, because it's every product, everything has to start somewhere. And more often than not, it's through some commodity that was shipped via bulk shipping.
So, if you're a 3PL who is maybe looking to work with a bulk commodity shipper, you've got to be fluent in more modes than just trucking, oftentimes, right? Thinking about like an agriculture producer, if you're like a soybean farmer in Iowa, I don't know, you're likely shipping loads via truck to your closer regional facilities. You're probably shipping things via rail if you're sending soybeans out. You're also likely shipping things via barge if you're going down the Mississippi, which tends to export out of the ports down there in the Gulf Coast. So if you're looking to work with a 3PL, if you're that shipper, you definitely want someone who's well versed in those multi-modes. Is that something that I think a lot of 3PLs can maybe capitalize on, is getting well versed in those different modes and using them as really good offerings, especially when it comes to that bulk transportation?
For this one, I kind of want to say it's a very good question. It's a very good point that I think every 3PL needs to kind of ask themselves. And I'm going to say it depends. So I'm not saying all 3PLs should get into bulk shipping because sometimes it's just not right for them. So if you're a 3PL that, really wants to focus on, shipping fresh produce or doing everything with temperature controlled freight, it doesn't make 100% of sense to get into bulk shipping for you because that's not your wheelhouse. There's plenty of customers to go around in the temperature controlled space. But I think if you're one that wants to specialize in some of these unique modes of transportation or some of the less common ones, I absolutely think bulk shipping is for you. And especially if the type of customers you go after or the sector of customers you go after lends itself nicely to that, absolutely. But if you're a smaller broker that, is just sitting there wanting to try and, stay profitable, I don't know that bulk shipping is going to be the right move for you, especially if you just specialize in kind of dry van loads because of how the supply chain market is and how everything is created. There is still plenty of demand and there is still plenty of business to be had if you just focus on dry van. And if that's your specialty and if that's what you're good at, then absolutely stick with that. But just know that if there is an avenue you're looking to increase or enhance, bulk shipping is out there, but it's just a matter of what type of customers you go after, because it doesn't make sense to be like, oh, we have this great bulk shipping department if you go for a lot of end product shippers, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think that leads into a really good conversation about carrier vetting when it comes to bulk shipping. What does that process look like? And is it maybe a little bit easier because there's not as many bulk shippers to deal or bulk carriers that is to deal with instead of, your massive amount of just regular drive-in carriers?
Yes and no. So, as someone who has once upon a time sourced a very unique set of carriers, because obviously within each kind of specialty, you have those that are even more specialized. So, for example, when I was in flatbed, I had to have exclusively low boys, which is a smaller sector of the already small flatbed market. But the same exists in bulk shipping. So there are a whole bunch of different containers and a whole bunch of different type of trailers that these carriers can haul. So the one good thing about it is that if you have a carrier that you already are working with bulk shipping, I want to say it's almost easier to get another carrier because you just ask that carrier, hey, who do you know in this market that does this? Because the bulk shipping world is so small, and a lot of those specialty freight markets, they are so small in that carrier world that they all pretty much know each other, or they know someone that knows someone that knows that can get you that covers that market. So that's where those carrier relationships are absolutely crucial. So if, for example, on dry van, if something goes bad and you burn and somebody gets burned, it's not the end of the world. There's a pretty good chance that you guys are not going to work together again. However, in the bulk space, that's going to be that you have to avoid that a lot more because it's going to be a lot higher risk that if something does go wrong and you and that carrier do get into an argument, it could mean the difference between your stuff getting shipped and your customer just kind of having to wait until you can find someone else. So ideally in a professional world, that wouldn't be the case, but sometimes depending on the situation, it can get a little dicier than that.
Idealism and not perfection. And when it comes to the show coming up later on today, give us a little teaser of who your guest is and maybe where we can find both you and them.
Yes. So if you keep watching us right here on YouTube, you will find the new episode of Check Call. It comes out today, Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. And we're going to have Nick Shipe from Circle Logistics, and he's really going to break down bulk shipping 101, and he's kind of an expert in it. So we're going to let him take it from here.
All right, Mary, thank you for joining us this morning for this community spotlight. We will see you later on. And of course, go check out Check Call if you haven't yet.
Thanks, guys.